So, hello everyone. There is a big announcement for you all. As Protrainy has completed 1 year of work in operations, we've decided to give the special discount for this course of 120 rupees off. So, the code is available till 12th of July and it's first come, first basis code. As soon as we receive 50 registration with this code, the coupon code will get closed. So, it's a request to everyone present here to use this coupon code as early as possible, and we are going to reveal that coupon code in the end of the session. Thank you everyone for listening this. So sir, you can carry on from here onwards.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. So the name, the nomenclature we use for this course is RC Manual Designs and STAADPRO. Let's start with a little briefing about this course and its contents. So first of all, this is a 21 days course, and the whole course is divided into 3 segments, and each segment is of 1 week. Second, objective and prerequisites. First of all, before going into the course and its content, I would like to mention the objective behind this course. The main objective is to make you stand out in the crowd of fresher graduating every year. Second is to train the novice user step by step from creation of geometry up until performing a concrete design. The thing is, when you will be facing an interviewer, this training is supposed to make a difference for you all there, and hopefully you will get into your chair someday, and then this training is supposed to give you a jump start among your peers. The prerequisite about this course is, and that's an important thing to, and the thing is that you are all engineers or final year students of civil engineering, so I don't think it's a problem. The user should at least know the manual structural analysis and design methods. You need to know these methods. You need to be like, what I can say, like a fluent in one such method. It is very important, and you no matter how much proficient you are on STAAD, you will need these methods to put checks on the output you are getting from the STAAD. I can't emphasize that enough. Now, the course content. In first week, we will be covering the manual designs of major components of RC frame structures. The major components are, you all know, column, beam, footing, and slab or a deck. In order to get there, we will be covering these following topics. So in first week, we are going to get an introduction, then singly and doubly reinforced sections. After that comes shear and bond. Then detailing of reinforcement. This one, like each of them is important, of course, but detailing of reinforcement, students tend to take it lightly while they are formative years. But this is going to be like it is going to make a major difference between you and your peers while you are in a job. Design of slabs and beams, and of course, design of columns and footings. So this first week, your RC manual design is concluded. Next week, we will move on to the STAADPRO. This whole week will be dedicated to the modeling part of the software, in which you will learn how to model a frame structure as close as possible to the real thing. Now, what exactly we do in STAAD? We try to create the structure which is supposed to be erected on a site. We try to create this particular structure in our software. And in order to get the right answers, we need to model this structure in our software as close as possible the real thing is going to be. And after creating this model, we are going to induce simulation, so to find out the behavior of this structure when vertical loads or lateral loads or anything else will be applied on it. So we know beforehand how exactly it's going to be. It is evident that instead, what we do is to try to model and simulate the structure on our computer screens before its execution to the ground, so as to ensure the real-time behavior of the structure. So in this week, we are going to cover introduction and understanding the STAADPRO way of doing the job, creating geometry using different tools and methods, defining cross sections of structural elements, which is again beam, column, and slab, defining constants, specifications, and supports. Now, in the final week of this 3-week course, after you students are able to model a structure. In order to analyze this model, now you need to apply loads. Loads, as I told you before, loads include basically it's vertical and horizontal. Now, vertical loads include the self weight, the live load on the structure, or any specific load. Suppose you are establishing a laboratory, you need to put a specific machine which is going to produce a certain amount of vibration. So it is going to be, you are going to apply these loads on this structure in order to get your answers. Application of loads, analysis, and design, all this will be covered in the last week. So the points we are going to cover in the 3rd week of this course is introduction to wind and seismic loads, defining load systems in STAADPRO, because you can't put loads on STAADPRO willy-nilly. You need to go through a certain system in order to apply these loads. First of all, to define these loads and then to apply these loads on specific elements. Now, after applying the loads and everything, you need to analyze this model. So there are like eigenvalue engine, or there are certain engines in the software. So you need to choose an appropriate engine for your analysis. After your analysis complete, you are going to put some checks on your analysis result in order to certain that you are getting the results what you are hoping for. After these checks, you are satisfied, Then you can move to concrete design. And at last, there is going to be a case study. So this is the overview of the whole course. Now, before moving on to STAADPRO, let's talk about manual design. Because knowing manual design is important. You are not a CAD operator, you are an engineer. In AutoCAD, anyone can operate it. You don't need to be an engineer in order to operate AutoCAD. But in order to operate STAAD and get the desired output, you have to be an engineer. Not everybody can work on on this STAADPRO or any designing software. Now, introduction to RC manual design. There are two methods of design of our reinforced concrete structures. I'm sure you are all aware of this. The first one is working stress method. Now, this method is based on the assumption that the concrete and steel behaves elastically, such that the stresses in the material resulting from the worst working loads combination do not exceed the allowable stress. Now, in order to make this happen, that the worst working loads combination do not exceed the allowable stresses, the structure is going to be really heavy. The structure is going to be really, really heavy. So this method nowadays, it's used for dams, bridges, anything other than a multi-story or high-rise building. Because the frame structure, if you want to design a frame structure according to working stress method, your beam will be like 10 feet deep, and this is not feasible. It can't be done. So working stress method nowadays, it's not applicable to frame structures. Next is limit state method. This is the method we are going to emphasize on. IS 456 is the code for this limit state method. This is just an information. I'm sure you all know about it. So what we do in limit state method? The definition says the condition or the state at which the structure or part of a structure becomes unfit for its use. For its use is called limit state. So we are going to design a structure to its limit state, and then we will make sure that stresses due to certain limits due to certain limit states do not exceed the limit state. This is what we are going to do in this method. So now there are three basic limits. First is limit state of collapse. We need to ensure that in the worst load combination, our structure will not collapse. It will withstand the worst load combination. We can achieve it by using factor of safety. Second one is limit state of serviceability, which consists of limit state of deflection and limit state of cracking. Now, deflection. For example, imagine that you have designed a slab. Now, this slab is very thin. Like, for example, it's just 100 mm thick slab. It's fine. It's not going to collapse. It's okay. But if it's going to be deflected after a certain limit, it will become an eyesore, and it is going to create problems for the users. This kind of slab will not be user friendly. So after attaining limit state of collapse, we need to make sure that limit state of deflection is also attained. This goes for slab as well as for beam. Anything for any element which bear its load by the virtue of flexure. Next one is limit state of cracking. Now you can achieve this limit by applying proper detailing as per the code. You can achieve this limit state. Last one is limit state of durability, limit state of fire resistance, limit state of environmental and chemical actions, limit state of resistance to accidental or catastrophic collapse. Limit state of fire resistance, you can achieve it by going through the provisions provided in IS 456. It's not a big deal. For limit state of environmental and chemical actions and limit state of resistance to accidental or catastrophic collapse. Now these are specialized structures like marine structure or like a radiation silo or something like that. So we have different codes for specific structures. You can go through these codes, you can apply their provision, and you can attain limit state of durability for these specialized structures. Now, after this brief introduction to manual design, let's move on to STAADPRO. STAADPRO is a tool for structural engineers. How this name come about? It's an acronym from structural analysis and design. This is one of the first software applications in the world which targeted structural engineers in order to ease their workload, liberate them from lengthy and tedious manual design methods. Now the question is, why STAADPRO is better? Why you need to learn STAADPRO? As you can see in this slide that there is a two-story portal frame there with a uniform load. In order to analyze, and this is a 2D frame structure first of all. So if you want to analyze this kind of structure, as it's mentioned in the slide, that moment distribution method is the most appreciated method for this kind of structure. What we do in this moment distribution method, in which loads on the beams to be transferred to the supports at their end. First of all, this UDL is to be transferred to the columns and to columns to the bottom of the structure, to the foundation where the foundation is supposed to be. How much load any column is going to partake, it depends on its stiffness. Stiffness is given by K is equal to E into I upon L. Now, in this equation, E is going to be constant because you have to assume first hand that which material you are going to use for these elements. And L, the span. Span is also in your forte. You need to assume the span for this frame or for any other frame. The only thing variable is the I, moment of inertia of a particular element, which depends on the width and the depth of a particular section. By applying all these variables, you can solve this kind of frame. But if the condition is it has to be a 2D frame, moment distribution method or any of these handheld methods, you can't apply them on a 3D frame. Second, for example, let's assume that this structure, this frame, it's a 10-story high. Just imagine how tedious your job become. So again, this moment distribution method, it is only good for a 2D frame. If you have a 3D frame, you need to divide your frame according to axis, and then you can go on. And second thing is that it is okay up to like a certain story height, like 5-story or 6-story. After that, it's a very cumbersome job. Now, what we have to do, now what we will do if there is a 3D frame. For that, you have stiffness matrix method. I'm not sure if you are, if this method is in your curriculum up to BTech.
It was in our curriculum.
Okay, fine. So the equation is P matrix is equal to K matrix into delta matrix. Force matrix, P is force matrix. All the forces on the structure, it's going to be in this matrix. Then again, stiffness of all the elements involved in the frame. And last one is displacement matrix. Out of these three matrices, the only stiffness matrix is the only matrix which is fully known. Rest of them, they are partially known. So now with above matrices, using this method, we can solve the system for unknowns. So we can get reactions. If you get reaction, then you can easily generate shear force and bending moment diagrams. And again, you are going to get displacements, and with displacements of different nodes, you can get a deflected shape, right? Next, but again, this method has its limitation if you are just armed with a calculator. You already go through this method in your curriculum, so I'm sure you are all aware how tedious this can be. But with the use of this software, this method can provide you with the correct answers. Now, let's talk about the workflow of STAADPRO. In a nutshell, you can divide STAADPRO in 4 points. The first one is input file. Input file is it's the most important part of working in a STAAD, and we are going to cover this input file in our second week. What it entails is modeling the structure, assuming and applying sections, confinement to the model, and defining and applying loads on the model. The last part, this is going to be in third week. First of all, you need to model the structure. Then you need to assume sections as well as the material you are going to use for this particular structure. After doing this, you need to, of course, you need to provide some constraints. There must be some constraints to your structure. So you need to apply these constraints and confinements to your model. At last comes the loading part, where you define the loads and then apply the loads to this model. After completion of this input file, when a user is satisfied that the model he or she creates is as close as to the real thing, you will be sending this file to analysis engine. Then after getting results from this analysis, you are going to verify these results. This is one of the most important aspect of STAAD, and that's where your experience with manual methods come in handy. After you are satisfied that the results you are getting, they are in a ballpark, then you can send this file back to design engine, a concrete design engine. This concludes the workflow of your process. And this concludes our introductory lecture on RC manual designs and STAADPRO. So, you have any questions?
Sir, yes, I have question.
Yeah, sure. Please go on.
Sir, हमारे कॉलेज में ना अभी एक ऐसा टास्क दिया था कि हमको एक प्लान लेना है, फिर उसका मतलब G+1 प्लान दिया गया था और उसको डिजाइन करने को कहा था मैन्युअली. तो मतलब कैसे करना, मतलब उसमें कैसे करते हैं, मतलब
G+1.
हाँ, उसका मैन्युअली डिजाइन करना है हमको. तो फिर मतलब हमारे कॉलेज की बुक्स में तो कैसा, मतलब अगर कोई बीम डिजाइन करना होता है तो कैसा दिया होता है कि बीम का सेक्शन दिया होता है तो फिर उसकी मोमेंट कैलकुलेट करो, ऐसा डिजाइन करने को कहते हैं. लेकिन हमारे पास जब सिर्फ ओनली प्लान ही गिवन है तो मतलब कैसे कर, मतलब शुरुआत कैसे करते हैं?
अच्छा, अगर ये G+1 है तो प्लान के साथ आई एम श्योर कि आपको हाइट ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर फ्लोर दी होगी.
हाँ,
या आपको अज्यूम करनी होगी.
हाँ, चलो हमने अज्यूम कर ली 3 मीटर.
ठीक है, आपने अज्यूम कर ली. तो आपको इसका फ्रेम स्ट्रक्चर बनाना होगा ऑन पेपर, राइट? सबसे पहले,
ओके,
राइट? सो
हाँ,
it's going to be a 3D frame, but you can't solve 3D frame manually. It's not possible, right? So you have to
right.
divide your picture as per X and Y frames. समझ रहे हो?
Okay, okay.
So now can you tell me how much bays are there in your plan? कितनी bays है इसके अंदर?
मतलब कॉलम.
Okay, row of column on along the X axis and along the Y axis.
Along the X axis 4.
Okay, so so if there are 4 columns, then there are 3 bays, and along the y-axis
5.
5. So there are 4 bays. तो आपको पहले,
हाँ,
what you need to do is, आपको सबसे पहले फ्रंट वाला जो आपका फ्रेम का सेक्शन है, ठीक है, G+1 का, जिसमें आपकी 4 कॉलम्स और 3 बेस आ रही है along X axis, राइट? आप इसको लो, इसको एनालाइज करो एज पर मोमेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मेथड और एनी मेथड यू फाइंड सुटेबल फॉर योरसेल्फ.
हाँ.
उसके बाद आप y डायरेक्शन में जो 4 बेस आ रही है आप उनको लीजिए. देन यू हैव टू सॉर्ट इट आउट. इस तरह से आपकी आउटर फ्रेम्स हुई. नाउ यू नीड टू मूव टुवर्ड्स योर इनर फ्रेम्स.
ओके.
एंड देन यू विल गेट द आंसर्स फॉर द एनालिसिस. डिजाइन का बात अलग आएगी. आफ्टर दैट कम्स डिजाइन.
मतलब पहले, मतलब अगर हमारे मतलब प्रोफेशनलिज्म में ऐसा ही होता है कि हमारे पास कोई क्लाइंट आता है तो वो उसके पास प्लान होता है तो हमको डिजाइन करना होता है, ऐसा ही होता है मतलब प्रोफेशनल में.
प्रोफेशनल वे में अगर आपके पास कोई क्लाइंट, सबसे पहली बात, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट मी बी वेरी क्लियर, इफ यू आर अ स्ट्रक्चर इंजीनियर एंड यू आर जस्ट डूइंग स्ट्रक्चर्स, आई एम नॉट श्योर कि आपके पास क्लाइंट खुद से आएगा. यू आर गोइंग टू बी एसोसिएटेड विद एन आर्किटेक्ट or with some structural designing firm, and you are going to get the plan, architectural plan, right? उसके हिसाब से आपको उसके अंदर कॉलम प्लेस करने पड़ेंगे.
आर्किटेक्चरल प्लान में
बिल्कुल. और कंडीशंस, कन्फाइनमेंट्स ये होंगे कि you need to satisfy architect. You can't put column willy nilly. राइट।
मतलब
आप हर
सर
कहीं कॉलम प्लेस नहीं कर सकते। आपको आर्किटेक्चरल और बिल्डिंग का फंक्शनल यूज अपने जहन में रखते हुए आपको कॉलम प्लेस करने पड़ेंगे। देन
सर उसका
आफ्टर,
कोई थंब रूल आता है? थंब
उसका
रूल
कोई
मतलब कॉलम?
नहीं, उसका उसका कोई थंब रूल नहीं होता, उसका वो एक्सपीरियंस से आता है। और उसके लिए आप थंब रूल के तौर पर आप ये कह सकते हैं कि जो आर्किटेक्ट ने जो आपको प्लान दिया है उसमें जो आप ये कोशिश करेंगे कॉलम जो है वो किसी
कॉर्नर
भी
पे?
रूम के बीच में ना आए, राइट।
हाँ
वो
हाँ
किसी भी तरह से उसको हिंडर ना करे। आपके
हाँ।
कॉलम जो है वो वॉल के अंदर, या तो पॉसिबल हो तो वॉल के साथ अलोंग द वॉल हो, या परपेंडिकुलर
ओके।
टू वॉल हो, बट इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी इन बिटवीन।
क्योंकि सर अभी मैंने एक जगह पे इंटर्नशिप की थी, तो वहाँ मतलब वो स्ट्रक्चरल कंसल्टेंसी थी, तो वो लोग बिना सॉफ्टवेयर के ही डिजाइन करते थे। मतलब मैं थोड़ा तभी सरप्राइज हो गया था कि ऐसे जमाने में भी लोग मतलब मैन्युअली डिजाइन करते हैं और ये फटाफट डिजाइन करते हैं। मतलब
अगर
तो मैं
वो
थोड़ा
लोग
तभी
मैनुअली
सरप्राइज।
डिजाइन करते थे तो वो उनका लिमिट क्या था डिजाइन करने का? किस तरह के स्ट्रक्चर वो डिजाइन करते?
मतलब वो G+10 या फिर ऐसा G+10 तक उनका मैक्सिमम गया है अभी तक का।
राइट, एंड दे आर डूइंग इट
और
मैनुअली।
हाँ राइट, और वो जो सर है ना वहाँ के, वो बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है अभी, मतलब 58 अराउंड एज के है।
हाँ,
हाँ, तो मतलब
ओके।
तभी
सो
मैं सरप्राइज हो गया था तो कि
यू
मतलब।
कैन सी, you need to become, like, you need to go to 58 years in order to be that proficient in manual design. But with
ओके।
STAAD, you can achieve that in like 2 or 3 years. If you are just doing frame structures, you can achieve that in 2 or 3 years with STAAD.
ओके,
But
समझ गया।
again, I am not belittling his experience. Experience का कोई तोड़ नहीं है, ठीक है ना?
हाँ
Experience का कोई तोड़ नहीं है. But why they are still using manual methods, I don't know.
सर,
Maybe they like it.
they think like that in computer, in software there may be manual means mistake can be done by us.
I don't get it. What you are saying?
मतलब वो लोग ऐसा सोचते हैं कि मिस्टेक मतलब हमसे शायद कुछ
एरर आ जाएगा अगर हम
एरर आ
मैनुअल
जाएगा।
को यूज करेंगे।
मैन्युअल में तो कैसे मतलब हम खुद से लिखते हैं तो फिर मगज
राइट।
में याद रहता है, ऐसा मतलब ऐसा
बट
उनकी
देखो
सोच है।
देखो ये तो क्या है, स्टैड इज लाइक एनी अदर सॉफ्टवेयर। आप उसके अंदर क्या फीड कर रहे हो आपको आउटपुट वैसा ही मिलेगा, राइट। इट देयर इज अ सेइंग कि ट्रैश इन ट्रैश आउट। अगर आप उसके अंदर कचरा डाल रहे हो तो आपको रिजल्ट में कचरा ही मिलेगा। आप उसके अंदर प्रॉपर इंफॉर्मेशन फीड कर रहे हो तो आपको आंसर भी उसी लेवल का मिलेगा। और दैट इज व्हाई आई एम सेइंग अगेन एंड अगेन दैट यू नीड टू नो मैनुअल मेथड्स। जो स्टेट का आपका जो आंसर आ रहा है आपको उस पर आंख बंद करके विश्वास करने की जरूरत नहीं है। आप उसको जगह जगह चेक लगा सकते हो।
सो सर इस कोर्स में आप पहले मैन्युअल डिजाइन करना सिखाएंगे, बाद
ऑफ
में
कोर्स,
सॉफ्ट, मतलब
ऑफ
बराबर
कोर्स,
ना? और
बिल्कुल।
इसकी मतलब इसका मतलब फ्लो कैसे रहेगा? पहले क्या मतलब मैन्युअल में क्या करवाएंगे आप, मतलब डिजाइन ऑफ बीम ऐसे पर्टिकुलर हर चीज का अलग अलग, कि मतलब कोई प्लान दिया तो उसका मैन्युअल डिजाइन ऐसा?
या यू आर, आपको प्रैक्टिकल दिया जाएगा। आपको इसके लिए क्या कहते हैं ना, आपको प्रॉब्लम्स दी जाएगी जिसको आपको सॉल्व करना है, जो मैं भी यहाँ सॉल्व कराऊंगा और फिर उसके हिसाब से आपको सॉल्व करने का है।
हाँ, मतलब ऐसा कोई सम दिया जाएगा या फिर मतलब एक प्लान दिया है तो उसको डिजाइन करो, तो वो आप
प्लान
सिखाएंगे
का
मतलब?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, अभी आपको प्लान देने से क्या मतलब है? आपको प्लान तो लास्ट में दिया जाएगा, जो केस स्टडी वाला जो पॉइंट है उसमें आपको प्लान दिया जाएगा, राइट।
ओके सर।
स्टार्टिंग में तो आपको इंडिविजुअल एलिमेंट डिजाइन करना होगा ना, लाइक यू हैव टू डिजाइन अ बीम, यू हैव टू डिजाइन अ
हाँ।
स्लैब। इट विल बी लाइक दैट। But after you are,
ओके
after completion of in the end of this 3 week course, you will be getting a case study जिसको आप और हम मिलके सॉल्व करेंगे।
सर, एक बात पूछूं, अगर मतलब हमने ये कोर्स पूरे अच्छी तरह से किया तो क्या हम इतने कैपेबल हो सकते हैं कि मतलब हमारे पास कोई आए कि ये हमें डिजाइन करके दो तो हम कर सके?
आप ये कोर्स करने के बाद आप इतने कैपेबल तब हो सकते हैं जब आप इस कोर्स को करने के बाद आप रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस रखें।
हाँ, मतलब अच्छी तरह से करे और उसके बाद
You
उसकी
getting my
प्रैक्टिस करे।
point? Yeah,
यस सर।
sure, sure, of course.
तो
If
मतलब
you
समझ
are
गया ना मैं क्या
if you
कहना
are
चाहता हूँ
continuing
आपको?
if you are continuing your practice after finishing of this course, then sky is the limit.
या ओके, थैंक यू सर।
And sir, IS 456 will be the code we are going to refer now.
For limit state, yeah. For this course, we are going to refer IS 456.
IS 456 2000 ना सर कि
Yeah, of
2007?
course. नहीं 2007. अब 2000 क्यों रखेंगे? अब 2007 आ गया है तो we are going to refer to 2007.
Okay, so I have copy of 2000. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's not a big issue. It's not a big
Okay.
issue. 2007 में थोड़ा बहुत ही changes है, इतना कोई भारी addition नहीं है वो. So
अच्छा
that's not a big
सर,
deal.
वो तो हम हमारे में मैं तो अभी 7 सेमेस्टर में हूँ कॉलेज के, तो 5th सेमेस्टर में हमें ना एक सब्जेक्ट आया था डिजाइन ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर। उसमें 2 पार्ट थे, स्टील और आरसीसी। तो आरसीसी की जो बुक है ना, उसमें कैसा दिया होता है पता है कि मतलब डिजाइन दिस, उसमें डायमेंशन पहले से ही दिया होता है और फिर कहता है कि ये मोमेंट कैलकुलेट करो, तो वो सब स्टेप बाय स्टेप फॉलो करके हम मोमेंट फाइंड कर लेते हैं। तो मैं तभी सोचता हूँ कि मतलब हमको जब हम मतलब हमारे पास जब प्लान होता है तो हमको कैसे मतलब मालूम पड़ेगा कि हमको कितने का बीम लेना है या फिर कॉलम की साइज कैसे लेनी है, मतलब उसमें हमको
आप
कंसीडर करना,
ना सुनो
अज्यूम करना
सुनो
पड़ता है।
सुनो 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 अजूम करना पड़ता है, बट उसके लिए गाइडलाइंस तो किसी भी बुक में दी होती है कि जनरली बीम्स का साइज क्या होता है, ठीक है ना?
हाँ
आप जनरली बीम्स का साइज क्या होता है वो किसी भी बुक में दिया होता है कि आप कितनी डेप्थ और कितनी विड्थ का जनरल बीम लेते हो। अगर आप कोई स्पेशलाइज्ड बीम डिजाइन कर रहे हो, यू कैन गो फॉर इट, नो प्रॉब्लम देयर, उसमें कोई
ओके
इशू नहीं है। पर द थिंग इज कि जब आप उस तरफ जाते हो, फॉर एग्जांपल जनरली 9 इंच का बीम अगर मैंने कंसीडर किया और मार्केट में 9 इंच का बीम किसी पर्टिकुलर लोकल में 9 इंच का बीम यूज होता है, तो जो उसका बीम का जो फ्रेमिंग मटेरियल है, जो ठेकेदार उसको फ्रेम करेगा, उसके पास सारा मटेरियल 9 इंच के हिसाब से होगा। आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? अगर मैंने उस
यस
जगह पर सपोज मैंने अगर उस जगह पर एक छोटा सा स्ट्रक्चर डिजाइन किया, एक छोटा सा मकान डिजाइन किया और किसी वजह से मैं उसके अंदर 1.5 फीट चौड़ा बीम रख रहा हूँ, तो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू गेट अ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर टू कंप्लीट दैट वर्क।
यस सर।
तो देयर आर दीज काइंड्स ऑफ कन्फाइनमेंट्स। हाँ, अगर मैं यही काम कर रहा हूँ बहुत बड़े लेवल पे, ठीक है, अगर मैं कोई फॉर एग्जांपल कोई मैं रेडिएशन साइलो बना रहा हूँ किसी हॉस्पिटल के लिए, वहां पे 2-2 फीट 2-2 से 2.5-2.5 फीट चौड़ी जो आपकी कंक्रीट की वॉल होती है,
ओके सर।
बट उसके लिए आपको कोई भी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर वो काम करने को तैयार होगा। इट डिपेंड्स कि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को प्रॉफिट कितना हो रहा है।
ओके सर, आई गॉट योर पॉइंट।
और बताइए।
नो सर, थैंक यू।
Sir, and
आप सब हाँ
sir,
या
and
श्योर।
how many types of course are we going to get?
हाउ मेनी टाइप्स ऑफ कोर्स?
Yes, just like you are teaching STAADPRO right now. So
राइट,
will you going to teach us STAADPRO E types as well?
no no, this course, this particular course is only about STAADPRO.
Okay, sir. So it's a dedicated.
Yeah, it's
It's
dedicated
only
to
for STAADPRO,
STAADPRO.
sir.
Right,
Okay, okay,
right.
sir. Understood, sir. And sir, session is going to be on the same time every day.
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
सर which
Okay.
time?
7 to 8. If you like, this is what we decided, but if you need some changes, you can talk to the people over Protrainy. They will, I'm sure they will accommodate you.
Sir, which time is given for regular classes?
7 to 8 in the evening.
7 in the evening. Okay sir.
Ayush is there?
Yes, sir. So I have already pasted the link in the chat box, the registration link for the session. So right now I'm going to share the codes with you all.
Okay, the timing is 7 to 8, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And sir, can you tell me about the content for the STAADPRO? Because in YouTube there are different types of lectures depend upon the professors and faculties and all. So, sir, can you elaborate some?
Pardon? Can you ask me again? Can you repeat your question?
So, can you tell us about the STAADPROs? syllabus which we are going to learn in this particular course, because in YouTube there are different channels, and depend upon their expertise, there are different types of lectures, so that is the that is very confusing part.
Okay,
So
the
that's why, sir, I am
okay, listen.
asking.
Yeah, please. The thing is that this coursework, the content of this course is targeted towards final year students, basically, right? Those who don't have real life experience in construction industry. So it was for like that, right? You are getting my point. So after going through this course, you will be proficient enough in STAADPRO that you can go and you can get a job, or you can, like, I'm sure you are not going to start your own consultancy right out of college, right? It is not going to happen. So this course make you proficient enough so you can get a job. Now the
Hello,
thing
sir.
is that listen to me, let me finish. You are
Sorry,
telling
sorry,
to
sir.
me that there, no, it's okay. You are telling me that there are different channels on YouTube, and they are teaching as per their expertise. That's the point. You are saying it yourself. They are doing as per their expertise. So in order to uh, attain and learn from those channels, you need to have that level of expertise, right? That's why I told you before in the initial part of our presentation that there are prerequisites. You need these prerequisites in order to attend this course. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So after, like, after going through this course, after finishing this course, and assuming that you are keeping your practice on, then you can go to some advanced version. And I'm sure that here in Protrainy we are going to provide an advanced version soon enough.
Sir, what is there in advanced version?
Uh, there is steel designing, first of all, right? There are
Still,
different kind there. We right now we are just going for frame structures, but there are different kind of frames, like braced frame, laced frame, in concrete, in RCC.
Okay.
So the sky is the limit. What I'm trying to say again is,
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
yeah,
Sir,
hello.
I want to know what is the difference between STAAD and ETABS in terms of output results, design results?
No. There is no difference. If you have this difference in output results in STAAD and ETABS, then one of that software has to be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So the outputs are going to be same. If you like, it's the only difference is how you are going, how you are moving towards the output and in the interface. Like if we are talking about ETABS is firmly dedicated towards frame structure, to high rise building structure. You are getting my point?
Yes.
And in STAAD is a very, how can we say, STAAD is a very elaborate software. You can design frame structures, you can design bridges, you can design culverts, you can design silos, you can design anything in STAAD. But ETABS, it's firmly dedicated toward high rise structures.
and sir, which version
So
of
can
STAADPRO should we prefer?
It's not about your preference. Like I have V8i, right? And I am using that. You can go, if you are going to, if you are going in, if for example, if you want to purchase this software, you can go for the latest version. Why will you settle for the, like, a previous version, right?
Okay, sir. Because there is one more software.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, actually, there is a latest version of STAADPRO. I'm not able to recall the version type, but it has the quietly, totally different interface than the V8i.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. So that's
So
why I'm asking which version should we use.
Well, we are going to practice on V8I.
Okay, so okay, no problem.
But I mean, I mean, you are saying that there is another version of STAAD, and the interface of both these V8I and this another version, it's drastically different.
Yes, sir. Totally different. Actually, the V8I doesn't have the ribbon option, ribbon like option, but the new version has one, sir.
Okay, so it's more
Sir,
like a David.
it's a STAADPRO Connect edition.
Okay, it's a STAADPRO Connect edition. Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir. That's what I was talking about. So actually, STAADPRO Connect edition has a totally a different interface. So that's why I was asking.
okay. I will look into it. But we are going for STAAD Pro V8I.
Okay, sir.
I guess there are no more doubts. So we can quit the session here. And thank you everyone for joining. And thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session.
Thank you, everybody, and you are all welcome.